there was a coup while I was there, where they shut down the airport and all this kind of stuff. This whole thing with red shirts, blue shirts, and there was all this political upheaval.
So now that you've been here in the Philippines, like, do you find yourself fantasizing about other places now?
When I got there, it was the most eye-opening, life-changing experience of my life. The women were beautiful, floating around, and I was just bobbing around going with whatever wave would come along and push me a little towards shore, just until it was time to pull the trigger.
Was Philippines even on the radar then?
No.
Not at all?
No.
So then when you got here, were you kind of disappointed?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. Some hell or high water, good, bad, or indifferent, I was going to stay here for 6 months. I'll either do it or I won't. And it's 6 months and 1 day.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are in the streets of Dumaguete, Philippines, and today this is a special video for me because I have Paul here.
Hi guys.
Old Dog New Tricks, and I've watched his channel on and off over the years, since probably about 4 years now. So we're gonna do an interview with him, and so Paul, thank you for coming, sir.
My pleasure, brother.
Yeah. I really do appreciate it. We've been trying to link up for a little bit, so I'm glad it happened.
Yeah, we finally made it happen.
Yeah, got it. We closed it. I know you've done a lot of interviews, right?
Yeah.
And then you've talked in depth on your channel about a lot of your views on the Philippines and everything. So
sure.
I kind of want to talk a little bit more about outside of the Philippines.
Awesome.
So, I have seen on your video too, and you told me that Philippines wasn't your first choice.
No, it wasn't.
What was your first choice?
It's easy, Thailand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why Thailand? Maybe just a couple big points.
Okay.
What's the first
easy,
one?
man.
First one, yeah.
Well, in 2005, I initially went to Thailand, and I was invited by a friend that was staying there. I had just changed careers where I had a lot more free time. I actually had enough money to buy a plane ticket and go. And I would never, ever, ever have dreamed about going halfway around the world at that stage of the game.
Yeah.
I thought I was just going to, stay in America, retire, pay off my house, and live with my dog.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But my friend said, "Hey, come on over and visit with me. I think you'll like it." And I said, "Yeah, what the hell? I've got the time, I've got the money, I got a free place to stay." So I did, and I'd never been out of the country. And I booked the ticket for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I left the country, bought a round trip ticket, and I kept canceling the return flight, and I stayed for 2 months.
Wow.
When I got there, it was the most eye-opening, life-changing experience of my life. You had an entirely different culture that just seemed to fit me. It was that, I don't want to say zen, but it was a very, very laid-back, relaxed society.
You finally made it home?
The women were beautiful.
Yeah.
The country was beautiful. You got to drive a motorbike everywhere you went instead of a car.
Was there big smoking too then, right? Because you smoke, there was a big smoking culture there?
Yeah.
It goes easier, right? Because they were starting to get cracked down in the U.S. in that time, right?
That's true.
Friendly?
That's true. Asia, everybody smokes.
Yeah.
Especially the Vietnamese.
Yeah.
No, that was a game changer for me. So when I came back, like I said, I extended it for 2 months because I just didn't want to leave.
That was Bangkok?
That was Phuket.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so all I had on my mind from that moment forward was I knew what my life plan was at 20 years ago. I knew where I was headed, and it was to retire or live in some way, shape, or form in Thailand. And in 2009, I had another opportunity where I was able to pick up, go, and just live there for almost a year. And my friend was still there. He had opened up a business, but we weren't roommates anymore. It was like I was separated. I had my own apartment, and we would go see each other every now and then.
Yeah.
But I got really involved in a church that was over there. And so
cool.
I made all these Thai friends that spoke great English, and I had built a community of friends, and the food was off the hook, and I felt a lot healthier. I was walking a lot more. The cost of living was super cheap, especially back then.
Oh, I bet.
And it was just, the whole vibe was just great. I mean, it was all I had, I was like, I got down to my last $1,000, and that was enough to buy the plane ticket home.
Yeah, nice.
And I came home, and I got back on the hamster wheel, and went back to work. And so that was my initial plan, was to go back there.
Wow. So 2004 to 2009, you didn't go back, right? It was a 5-year gap?
Yeah, I was working.
Wow. So were you thinking about it constantly, or did you kind of forget about it, or?
Not a day went by
Wow.
where I wouldn't look. This true. You gotta think I'm nuts, but every day, it makes me laugh thinking about it. I would see a jet aircraft in the sky, and I go, "Oh, I wish I was on that plane right now, getting the hell out of here and going there."
Wow.
I mean, it just overtook my thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So for 5, but why didn't you come back in 5 years? Like not even a quick 2 weeks. Like you just wanted, you really wanted to say, oh, you're holding out for the grand one.
I had hit the recession. Had wiped me out. I had worked all these years of my life, 30 some odd years, to do the American dream: buy the house, invest my money in a 401k, buy real estate, have rental income, and then the recession came, and whack, everything that I worked for 30 some odd years got wiped out, and I was basically in my 50s now, just starting all over again.
Wow.
And so. That was a big whack. And so I was in survival mode, literally, until I got back here. I reached retirement age, and I was just, like out in the ocean, floating around, just bobbing around, going with whatever wave would come along and push me a little towards shore, and then and just until it was time to pull the trigger and get my Social Security and get the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah. So then 2009 you came back though, right? But that was just for a vacation again, or for a year?
Well, it was for a year.
Yeah.
It was a vacation. It was just to get out of the doldrum that I was in. I'd had a rough divorce. I'd gone through some rough times. Had struggled, personally, financially, emotionally, and all that kind of stuff. And I just needed. Actually, it was my father's idea. He goes, "You know what, Paul?" He says, "If you don't de-stress and decompress, you're gonna die. You need to get the hell out of here." He could see it in my face.
Wow.
And so he was encouraging me. He says, "You loved it over there. Why don't you go back?" And I took his advice, and I did. And then, like I said, I had a finite amount of money, so I did just that. But it cemented my idea. I mean, it really. The initial 2005 trip planted the seed, and the 2000 to 2010, it bloomed into full fruition.
Yeah.
And I said, this is it. And
So
there was no doubt.
No doubt, yeah. So then it was Thailand again, right? So what eventually caused you to? Why the Philippines? Was Philippines even on the radar then?
No,
not at all.
No. It was Thailand. Okay. And then as it became, I remember in Thailand the big hassle was the visa, and I had to do visa runs. Where I'd have to go out of the freaking country. I'd take a 12-hour bus ride, round trip.
Was that monthly?
Well, I forget what it was. It was like every couple months, I think. I'd have to do it. And then I'd have to go to Myanmar, formerly Burma, go on a long boat and go through all this stuff and bribe a guy $20, and then you get your passport stamped and you come back and you go through it again, and now you're good for another couple of months. And that got old in a hurry. So as retirement neared, about 2 years prior to actually retiring, I started to research on Google top 10 places to retire on a budget, because I knew I was only going to have my Social Security check. And I knew it was going to be less than $2,000 back then. And so what kept popping up? Philippines. And then I started to watch YouTube videos.
Okay. And what year was this?
This was 2015.
Okay.
Yeah. And
so there wasn't that many then, right?
No, man. Yeah. Especially out in the Philippines, there was only 3 or 4 vloggers.
Wow.
And I gave up on Thailand because I knew that from living there, I had also gone through there was a coup while I was there, where they shut down the airport and all this kind of stuff. This whole thing with red shirts, blue shirts, and there was all this political upheaval. Not a lot of violence, but when they shut the airport down, and I was literally a hostage, you know, I mean, not like I had to stay home or anything, but I couldn't leave the country. I said, this is a little weird, this is a little unstable. The police kind of weirded me out in Thailand, the way that they operated. And so I thought, well, I'll stick with Asia and let me just see what the world says. And back in 2015, 16, when I was researching it, the Philippines would come way up, and on the Forbes list of top places to retire back then, Dumaguete, Philippines was the #1 place to retire.
Wow.
As far as cost of living and health and all the factors that they put in, you know, rents and this and that.
In the magazine? Mm-hmm. In Forbes? Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was rated #1.
Wow.
And then you'd go on other stuff, other travel things like with AAA and all these other publications that they had and things online. And the Philippines, if it wasn't #1, it was in 2 or 3.
Wow.
And so I started to take a hard look at it, and my attitude was, well, okay, I can go to the Philippines. They speak English. You know, it's not their first language, but it's spoken more than in Thailand.
Oh,
in
yeah, way more.
Thailand, it was really tough to communicate unless you got with someone college educated. And I had gotten lucky with the group of people I made friends with. They all spoke very good English.
Yeah.
But they were the exception, not the rule. And so that was challenging. But I thought to myself, once you're in the Philippines, and I've been back to Thailand since. This time I took my wife with me. But it's only a 3-hour plane ride.
Yeah.
So I thought, what the hell? I'm over there. And the Philippines, if nothing else, would be a great base camp. And I can bounce, which I've done. I've been to Indonesia, I've been to Vietnam, I've been back to Thailand, I've been one trip back to America. So I've left the country 4, maybe 5 times, and been able to fulfill that too.
So then when you got here, were you kind of disappointed?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I was. So what was that initial disappointment?
Because when I first got off the plane...
Was that in Manila or here?
That was in Cebu.
Oh, so you first
got
touched
off
down
in Cebu.
And what year, 2015?
2017.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
middle of the year, June or July.
Oh, wow.
I was here in 2017. And when I first got off the plane and took my first taxi ride in Bangkok, when I landed in Thailand, even before I got over to Phuket, which was just the next couple days, just the scenery, just from the people, the way they looked, the men, the women, the kids, the cleanliness of the city,
the infrastructure,
you know, the infrastructure, the hotels, the food was an immediate dopamine hit of happiness. You know, this is great. The weather sucked because it was hot as hell.
Hot as balls,
but it was great.
Yeah.
And then when I landed in the Philippines and I was taking the same cab ride, instead of being in Bangkok, I was in Cebu from the airport to my hotel. The first thing I said to myself is I looked at the people and I looked at the places and I looked at the surroundings and the shape of the buildings. I said, well, we ain't in Thailand. And I had kind of convinced myself that the Philippines was the same as Thailand, only they spoke English.
Wow.
I had managed to talk myself into that. You know, as I told myself what I wanted to hear. And when I got here, I said, man, this looks more like Mexico.
Kind of, right?
I mean, just the shape of the people, the condition of the buildings, the cab itself, and the hotels, and the way that things were run, and as inefficient and funky as it was. And that was within the first hour of being here.
Wow.
So yeah, it was a letdown.
Bad first impression then?
It was a pretty poor first impression, to be honest with you.
So then, how long did it take you? Because initially, even when I go to other countries and come back, it's nice because then everybody does speak English. You know, and I feel like they have the accent that sounds nice, especially like when you go to cashiers or things like that. It has this welcoming feel. So was that kind of something that was nice initially, where like everyone's like, "Hello, sir," you know, like you could actually
talking
speak
about here?
English. Yeah, when you did touch down here, or it wasn't really.
It was one of the biggest positives that I could communicate with everybody. It wasn't like a conversation you and I are having.
Yeah,
it's very limited.
Yeah.
You know, it's an acquired skill to communicate here in English.
Yeah.
For us to slow down.
Yeah, because they can't understand our accents, right? Yeah,
No.
we might as well have a Chinese accent or something.
Exactly.
You know?
You have to be very, very clear, and they use different words for different things.
Yeah.
So, for an example, if you're in a restaurant and you ask a waitress for a napkin, that's a feminine product.
Yeah.
Okay, I got the weirdest look from this woman when I go, "Can I have a napkin?" And she's like, "What do you like?" Here it's called a tissue.
Yeah, tissue.
Okay,
yeah,
now I think of tissue as toilet tissue.
Yeah,
All
or
right?
tissue, right?
Or blow your nose like a Kleenex.
Yeah.
So, little nuances like that.
Yeah. So okay. So then, how long did it take you then? Because basically, if they didn't speak English here, you would have gone somewhere else, probably, huh?
Most likely.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have. Here was my game plan, and I was determined to stick with it, and I did. Come hell or high water, good, bad, or indifferent, I was going to stay here for 6 months.
Got it.
That was it.
Yeah,
I knew that I had plenty of money in the bank. I didn't have a lot, but I had money in my pocket. I had money in the bank, and I had an income stream.
Yeah.
So I knew that no matter how good, no matter how bad it was, my primary concern was, will I have shelter? Will I have food?
Yeah.
Will I be able to navigate?
Yeah.
And if I don't dig it, well, like I said, Thailand's 3 hours away.
Yeah.
Vietnam's another 3 hours.
Yeah.
Indonesia's 5 hours. I can always go put my toe in those waters and see how it works out.
So then how long did it take you? Because for me, even if I go to the same country I've been to, when I go back, it seems like after a few days, I don't like it. Or the initial few days, like I guess it's an adjustment period. But then it's usually about a week. I'm like, oh, I love this place, you know. So how long did it take you to start to like? When did you warm up to it?
It took me about 2 months.
Wow. Yeah. See, good thing you said that 6 months then, huh?
Yeah.
So okay, and then real quick, that's a good thing that everyone says in all the videos, right? They say stay as long as you can.
Yeah.
Right? So, but that's a good thing there because you're like, so it took you 2 months. Even a month's a long time here. So So it took you 2 months to get adjusted.
Yeah. Well,
and then what happened? Did you just start getting used to it? Or?
I'll tell you what happened is all of the things that I put importance on, such as the aforementioned infrastructure, food choices, the shape of the people, the general just dynamic of it all, was sort of took a back seat to the people.
Okay.
And the attitudes and the happiness and the joy that I saw, and the Filipino culture, and just no matter where I went, no matter what circumstances they were under, you're hard pressed to find a scowling Filipino.
Yeah.
Okay, they're generally smiling, even in the middle of abject adversity.
Yeah.
Their car is in a ditch. And I've seen guys have their car in a ditch and they're all laughing about it. You know?
Yeah, it's like
they're getting a big stick and they're like, well, we gotta get the car out of the ditch. You know? They get a big stick and they pry it and they find levers and I mean, these are the things that I've seen. I've watched people that have just had everything go wrong and yet they still smile through it.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how I was able to just kind of pick up on the general vibe of the Philippines, and it came from the people. It really did. And it just that outweighed any other physical stuff.
Yeah, I hear
or
you.
material things.
Yeah, it seems to be the go-to emotion here, right? Like when something bad happens, they'll laugh, which is like a lot of other places they'll be embarrassed, so they'll get angry, right? But here,
absolutely.
They'll laugh. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I noticed
There's no
that too.
road rage here.
Yeah,
you know,
not really,
I've cut people off. I've been a bad driver. I freely admit it. And I've done the wrong thing. And I've just had the guys like beep their horn at me a little bit and go, hey, you know, and they're not all crazed out. They're just like, you shouldn't have done that. And I'm like, I'm sorry. And they're like, it's cool. And off we go.
So, okay, so then it took you about 2 months to settle in. So then, real quick, did Did you kind of go from I don't really like this place to I love this place, or it was a slow?
It was more
love
of a
affair?
slow burn,
Yeah,
and
okay.
because I was also cognizant that I was in a honeymoon period. Okay,
it,
so
got it.
after the 2 months, a lot of the heavy lifting was done already. I mean, I had finally found an apartment. I got really lucky. I got a really nice, cool, modern-looking apartment for a very reasonable amount of money. Everybody was envious that knew me of my apartment.
Yeah.
How'd you score this place, man? If you move out, tell me about it. I want this place.
That was in
'Cause
Valencia?
At the time, yeah.
Okay.
It was up in Valencia, and at the time, it was just head and shoulders above what everybody else was getting for similar or more money.
Got it.
So I had the dwelling down. I pulled the trigger and bought a scooter I'd been renting because I said, you know what, I'm not going to commit until this 6 months goes by. And I am in a honeymoon period because there were now, I was being introduced to females that were very pretty that normally I would never have had an opportunity to encounter or enjoy their company.
Yeah.
And then the same thing with guys, other expats, local Filipinos. I started to settle in and find out where to go, where to avoid. So I did go through about month 3 or 4, kind of like a small season of doubt.
Okay.
Is this really what I want to do?
Yeah.
You know, and I was feeling kind of melancholy and feeling kind of, I don't know, guilty almost that I was doing this, and it was sort of like maybe it was my own self-image, like I don't deserve this. You know, you get beat up in life for so long.
Yeah.
And then by the time month 5 and 6 came around, I told myself 6 months I'll either do it or I won't. And it's 6 months and 1 day I went down and bought a scooter. I quit rent. I said I'm in. I'm done.
Yeah.
This is it.
Wow.
I'm cool.
So 6 months, huh?
Yeah, the money has worked, the budget has worked, the people have worked. My stress level has dropped. My happiness and joy is beginning to return or expose itself.
Yeah.
And so the whole attitude changed. Yeah.
So at 6 months, were you dating May yet, or no?
No.
Were you single then, or did you have
I
a
was
girlfriend?
single.
Okay.
I was single for 2.5 years before I met May.
Oh, okay. Smart move.
Yeah.
So then you stayed here then. So after 6 months. So now we're gonna kind of fast forward, right? Because I think everyone kind of knows the deal. You got your channel and stuff, and you're really well known here. So, what do you find yourself fantasizing now that you've been here in the Philippines? Like, do you find yourself fantasizing on other places now, like Thailand or who the hell knows, Bali or no?
Do I fantasize about
Like,
it?
have you ever thought, like, man, I would be kind of cool now if I could wave a magic wand and I could move my whole channel to Thailand, or like, and I had my audience
I
there.
I get it.
You know,
I get
or even just living there, not necessarily that.
I get it.
Any kind of outward fantasy.
Well, I can answer that by telling you just via experience. I kind of have done that already. So I have been, not with May, yeah, I did. But I went to Vietnam, and I hung out there for 3 weeks.
And you went to
Nha Trang.
Nha Trang, okay, the beach town. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Russia, right?
Russians, man. No one from Russia smiles, including the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be in an elevator and I'd smile at a little kid, 5 years old, a Russian kid, and he'd scowl at me like, you know, the Terminator or something. It's like, wow, that's different.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a weird vibe there. And there, very complicated as far as communication. Super cheap to live.
Yeah. How was the beach though? And the
beach? I'm not a beach guy.
Okay.
I'm not a guy that goes and takes his towel and his umbrella and goes down and lays at the beach.
Yeah.
I like to look at the beach.
Yeah.
You know, if there's big waves or some waves, I'll go in because I like to body surf.
Yeah.
But I've yet to find a place to do that.
Yeah.
I used to do that in Phuket because there was a place that I would go to that did have waves, and we'd go out in the ocean then. But just to go out in the ocean and float around or lay in the sun's not my thing. So I enjoyed being on the beach, driving by the beach, seeing the beach, beautiful. Nha Trang is super clean, modern, progressive as far as the building. The Wi-Fi is top of the line,
Yeah.
and very efficient. You've got Grab, So there's wiggle room as far as navigating yourself without being able to speak the language.
Yeah.
But it's like I was telling you earlier, I pointed to a picture of a hot cup of coffee,
Yeah, hot
and
latte.
they brought me a cold one.
Yeah.
They brought me an iced one.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
you were telling me you ordered a...
Iced lemon tea, but they brought me a hot tea with lime.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. They don't even see limes in Asia, really. You know, that's what's funny. It's
And
usually
so
like,
I said to myself, you know, this is pretty and everything, but I don't see making any connection with the locals.
Yeah.
And so it's just going to be me,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to have to seek out other expats for companionship.
Yeah.
And there's really not that many Americans or even Canadians. It's mostly, like I said, Chinese, Russians,
Yeah.
and then the indigenous people. And just the whole vibe of the place was, you know, a little, I could tell the people were oppressed because it's a communist country, I believe.
Yeah, it still is,
know.
yeah.
So you still got that vibe going on, and that didn't make me settled. But I just, at the end of the day, by the time my vacation there was up, I was totally ready to come home.
Got it.
Like, I just want to get back to Dumaguete.
Yeah.
I just want to get back because this felt like home. Same thing when I went to Indonesia. I went to Bali. Same thing, 3 weeks.
Uh-huh.
Actually cut the vacation short.
Wow.
I said, this isn't working for me.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like it.
Yeah.
And so
what was it the traffic? Or was,
Well,
what year did you go?
Bali was, when was that? 19, I think. It was just,
it was
just before the
pandemic. It was
pandemic.
booming then, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was Bali first and Vietnam next, or the vice versa. I think it was Bali was first. Doesn't matter. Then when I went over there, it was very commercial. The Bali, the city, was very commercialized. A lot of Australians go there. They drink, they party, they disco, which is fine. It's kind of like a poor man's Hawaii.
Yeah.
And so they go there and party, and that just didn't float my boat. That's not my scene.
Yeah.
I did rent. I did hire a driver to drive me all around, and we looked all around in a beautiful countryside. But I think Indonesia is worth another look, but just a different area, a different section.
Yeah.
I can't knock the whole country off of, like, it's like, you know, it's like if you go to America and you land in Vegas, well, not every place is like Vegas, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's different areas, and I didn't give it a fair shake.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, and actually, Bali doesn't even have the nicest beaches, really.
No.
Yeah, like the big tourist area is like black sand. It looks ugly. It's like, can you imagine if it was like white sand beaches?
No, man, it was dirty. It was crowded. It was expensive. It was kind of Americanized. They had a thank God it's Fridays, and I wanted the local stuff, you know, and I didn't experience that.
Yeah. So then, but as far as now though, you're not really fantasizing about other places.
No.
So you kind of set here now then in the Philippines.
Right. Well, I've gotten married. I've been with the same woman now for 5 years. We've been married for over a year, and so we're settled into that husband and wife routine. I'm pushing 70. I'm in the sunset of my life. You know, I'm in the winter of my life. I've got a lot of years behind me. I don't have that many more in front of me. I'm no longer the man I was 7 years ago when I first got here. Physically, primarily physically, emotionally and spiritually, I'm kind of like healed. You know, I'm like fixed.
Come to terms.
It's all good.
Yeah.
It's just now. It's just a matter of I'm slowing down, and that's partially from just getting older, and it's partially just from having been there and done that. And all the time that I've been here, I've seen every little sight there is to see. You know, I've traveled to this island, that island, seen this scenic deal, this waterfall, this I don't know, tourist trap, whatever. So I've gone and experienced a lot of different cities, islands, and always just like I just feel comfortable here. It just seems to be a fit.
Yeah.
You know, and I like the life. To me, it's like the life that I wanted to have when I was your age. I wanted to, when I got married and I had kids and bought a house and was doing the proverbial American dream, but the marriage was very contentious and the kids who had the same issues that you were telling me about on my video with you.
Yeah.
You know, with the alcoholism and the drug usage and all that stress and strain and all that kind of stuff that was in my life. Well, that's all gone.
Yeah.
And here it feels like this is how it should have worked the first time.
Yeah.
And if it had worked this way, if I had met a woman of May's caliber, if I had that unity, if there hadn't been all the dissension and the bipolar and all the knucklehead stuff that came along with that, I probably wouldn't be here now. I would still be in America, looking at a fifth wheel to go take the old lady to the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, it's not worth it going either. Have you been in the Grand Canyon?
Yeah. It was about 10 minutes.
Yeah,
I looked at it,
me too,
okay, I've seen that.
I was dating a girl and she wanted to see the sunrise there. So we got up like 4 in the morning, went to go watch the sunrise. It's freezing, it's cold as balls, but kind of to wrap it up, basically Thailand's your second choice. Or it's not even, you're set here, but that would be where you'd go next. What about a third one? Is there somewhere else that you've been that you maybe could see yourself living?
You know, I haven't checked out Malaysia yet.
Yeah, I was talking about that, yeah.
I haven't checked out Siem Reap. I've heard that's developing.
Malaysia would be a good developed getaway. Like where you'll just go there, everything will be real smooth. It's still cheap, but like everything's just efficient.
That's really, you know, remember my statement I said earlier that Philippines would make a good home base?
Yeah.
It turned out that was no truer statement was ever made. So I've got a home here. And now I finally was able to take my wife out of the country. We got her squared away with passports and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And we went to Thailand and she fell in love with it. And so for us, it's just a matter of economics. Do we lay low for a while, save our money, and then go for 2 or 3 weeks to Vietnam?
Yeah.
And then Malaysia, and then back to Thailand.
Yeah.
And maybe to be able one day take her to, you know, like I said, Siem Reap. I'd like to check that out and take her with me and see it through her eyes. Would we relocate in those places? I can't see it, but it is fun to take a break and get away.
Yeah.
I always find that when I leave here, I find a new appreciation for it.
Yeah.
You get into kind of a routine, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you sort of take things for granted. And I know where everything is and where this goes and how to get there. And it can get a little mundane. So it's good to go ahead and rattle your own cage every now and then.
Yeah.
Change it up, get used to another currency, get used to another language, another culture, another way that people drive, get lost. You know, it's fun. It challenges you, it keeps pushing you.
Yeah. So then you've been here 7 years now, right?
7 years.
In Dumaguete, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so are you starting to see, is there just a lot more expats now, or has it always kind of been the same? You're seeing younger dudes probably now here too?
That's the biggest dynamic change is I think there's a misconception that there's tons of expats here. The pandemic thinned out a ton of expats. We could leave, but we couldn't come back.
Got it.
And there were a ton of dudes that had to leave.
Yeah.
They had to get home. They had to take care of their taxes or their kids or their house or whatever, their business. Or they just wanted to leave because they were sick or whatever.
Yeah.
And so probably about the same amount have now returned, a lot of new guys. I have found that there's the biggest change that I've noticed in the 7 years that I've been here is not that there's so many more expats, but that the complexion of the expat has changed to a much younger generation. Guys your age, guys in their 40s, guys in their 50s. Used to be 10 years ago, it was just guys that looked like me. We were all, retired, gray hair, had a pension, whatever, and came here and set up shop just because we didn't have to work and we could live cheap and possibly meet somebody that we were more attracted to than we would have been back home.
Yeah.
But right now, there's a lot more digital nomad types of guys, a lot more younger guys that are disenchanted with America. They're disenchanted with the woke. They're disenchanted with the politics and just the general vibe. They're really disenchanted with the females, just the attitudes and their dating opportunities, feminism. They're fed up from the conversations that I've had.
Yeah.
The second biggest thing that I've seen change here is a big increase in a middle class. When I first came out here, I was kind of like the big fish in a small pond. You know, I was a foreigner. I was a different color. I must be a millionaire.
Yeah.
Well, that whole persona has really done a big shift because there's a lot more affluence now, especially I see here in Dumaguete. There's a much bigger, not only middle class, but upper middle class of Filipinos.
Yeah, so do you think that's from local economy, or do you think people are moving in
I
here?
cannot put my friggin' finger on it, man. I just do not know, but I see there's more cars on the road right now than there's 10 times the amount of cars on the road today than there was when I first got here.
Wow.
And I would say 95% of those cars are being driven by locals, not foreigners.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay? I don't know what the dynamic is. I don't know what happened. I think there's a misconception that foreigners are driving up the prices. Granted, foreigners will pay top dollar for stuff because they put it in the wrong perspective.
Yeah.
They say, you have to think in pesos over here.
Yeah, I know.
All right, and the value of a peso. So if someone says, well, that's X amount, that's a million pesos, and you say to yourself, really, I can buy that for a million pesos? That's only 20 grand.
Yeah.
I can't buy a piece of land for 20 grand in America. Of course I'll take it. And, you know what I mean? And that's the wrong thinking.
Yeah.
So that might be driving up prices a touch in certain areas.
Yeah.
But I don't think across all 7,000 islands it's playing a big role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's got partly too. It's got to be because of there's such an expat community here, right?
Well,
I mean, it's got to be because it's businesses, people starting businesses here.
Again, I've got to tell you, I think that's a misconception.
Okay.
There is a Sunday market in Valencia where I live, and it started off as 3 tents, one guy cooking hot dogs, one guy serving hot chocolate, and another guy making sandwiches, and 12 or 15 expats like myself, and somewhere we would go up there, and it was just us, and then it grew to like 10 tents, and now it's like the county fair. Okay, I mean, there's everybody and their mother is up there.
Wow.
If you get there past 6 a.m., you can't find a place to park.
Wow.
And guess who's there? Filipinos,
yeah.
bro.
Wow.
I walk through there, I see 1 or 2 or 3 white faces.
Dang.
Or black faces that are not Filipinos.
Yeah.
The rest is middle class Filipinos paying top dollar, for a sausage sandwich.
I wonder, who knows? I don't
So
know.
I can't put my finger on it.
Wow.
I do not know.
Wow.
I don't know if it's old money. I don't know that's coming into the next generation. I don't know if it's something with the government. I don't know if it's just entrepreneurship. I can't, again, I don't know. Maybe your viewers know.
Yeah. So, all right. So then, I mean, just to kind of wrap it all up, so like every other video, right? But
Sure.
people always, I like to hear it still. What's the minimum time you need to spend? Like because there's still a ton of attention here in Dumaguete.
Yep.
What do the guys need? And everybody's talking about it, but what's
my
seal
take
of
on
approval? Yeah, what's your take?
All right. Well, like I said, I gave myself 6 months.
Yeah.
And I would call that the minimum.
Wow. Okay.
I really would.
Yeah.
I really would. Because like I said, I had 2 months where I felt really good about it. And then month 3 and 4, I said, that was kind of the honeymoon period, where everything's new and exciting and fresh and all this is going on. Well, that starts to wear down a little bit. And then you kind of get over that. And then the things that are wrong here will start to wear on you, where they did me in like month 3 and 4 and 5 even. And then by month 6, I just learned that I could adapt, I could adjust, and I could accept the inadequacies, and that the good outweighed the bad in my mind.
Yeah.
And so I would say 6 months, and because like it or not, when you first get here for the first few months, whether you're conscious of it or not, you're going to be in tourist mode.
Yeah.
You're going to be probably first staying at a hotel till you find a place.
Yeah.
You might find a place that may not be the right place. That might make you disenchanted, or you might find a great place and that might oversell you on it. So I think in order to weigh out the positives and the negatives, at least 6 months. The longer, the better. The guys that I find make a mistake come out here initially and they stay 3 or 4 weeks on a trial run.
Yeah.
That's what they can afford. But they're staying at a resort or a hotel and everything's kind of easy peasy, you know.
Yeah.
They haven't had the real day-to-day life experience.
Yeah.
So I just think that's way too short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I hear you. Alrighty, sir. Well, thanks for being on. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, man.
All right.
Good to be with you.
Yeah, for everybody that made it this long, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, all 4 of you.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, 40 minutes. I don't even know if this is going to transfer over to my computer. I hope. Yeah.